Formula One returns to Singapore after its absence on the calendar in 2018, and straight out of the blocks, Audi looked mighty. In stark contrast to their performance in Spain, Sainz and Perez effortlessly topped the timesheets in all three free practice sessions, with reports of some much-needed new aero updates. Best of the rest looked to be a battle between Mercedes and Red Bull, but with McLaren not too far behind. Mercedes will be hoping for a strong weekend, though, after suffering their first reliability issues in the last round. And finally, Jaguar are showing signs of slipping down the order after a surprisingly strong start to the season, with Ferrari and Renault snapping at their heels. Let's take a look now at the starting grid for today's Singapore Grand Prix, and once again, as it was earlier in the season, it is the Audis on top as Carlos Sainz grabs pole position by over 2.5 tenths of a second to his Mexican teammate Sergio Perez, who will have to do better on the Saturday sessions if he wants to start out qualifying his teammate. Best of the rest will be Max Verstappen for the Silver Arrows, the team very happy with that result alongside Antonio Giovinazzi and the Red Bull, who managed to just go 11 thousandths of a second faster than his teammate Pierre Gasly, who will start from 5th on the third row alongside Lewis Hamilton, who will be the lead McLaren for this race. Then comes the other Mercedes of Pascal Wehrlein, who starts from 7th alongside the other McLaren of Kevin Magnussen, who will start from 8th just behind his teammate. Rounding out the top 10, it is the Renault of Nico Hülkenberg, who starts alongside Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, and they will start ahead of the two Jaguars, who start just outside the top 10 and with free choice of tire, aarava getting the better of Vandoorne on this particular occasion. Then comes the other Renault of Delatraz, who actually managed to get the better of Daniel Ricciardo, who starts way down in 14th position. The Scuderia very disappointed with that result. Valtteri Bottas for the Williams team will start from 15th position ahead of Romain Grosjean, crucially though at this street circuit, and Grosjean starting from 16th position. Then comes Mick Schumacher in the Force India in 17th alongside the second Williams car of Sergio Camara, could only manage 18th ahead of Charles Leclerc in the Alfa Romeo car, seeming a little bit stronger at this circuit. He'll be joined on that row by Esteban Ocon, and then bringing up the rear, it's Fuoco and Sirotkin with only 1.5 seconds separating the pole time down to Sirotkin.
What's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 MyDriver career mode, episode number 7 today for Season 5 at the Singapore Grand Prix. It has been a while since we've been here at Singapore in the MyDriver universe, 2 entire seasons. The last time we were here, we were on a completely different game. We were doing F1 MyDriver on F1 2015, and now the next time we return in the series is on F1 2016. In a bit of different conditions, you can see we're starting off in the afternoon, so the floodlights aren't fully on. It's not fully nighttime yet, but by the time we get to the end of this Grand Prix, it will be fully nighttime and the floodlights will be shining on this pretty good looking circuit, really, especially on this game now. But yeah, anyway, talking about the race ahead of us, so we're in P11, you saw by the starting grid, so a pretty decent place to actually be considering we can now start on the soft tyres. But obviously now you can see slowly and slowly Jaguar as a team, myself and Vandoorne, are slipping away as these kind of top teams now start to really flex their muscles. But we still should be on for a pretty decent result, I think, being able to open up the strategy a bit more on these soft tyres. But I want to say, just before we get going, again, thank you guys so much for the support on this series. Last episode, you guys had once again smashed over 2,000 likes. It was absolutely awesome, so thank you very much for that. But anyway, let's get into this. We go to 5 red lights for the Singapore Grand Prix, the 7th round of this season. 5 red lights are out, and we're underway. It's been an excellent start for us. Look at that, no wheel spin at all, and we're up into 10th place, already overtaken Sebastian Vettel. As we head into turn 1, though, Vettel might come back at us because he's on the whole right-hand side. There he is. His wheel comes into the frame and into turn 2, locking up a tad. And Vettel, can he hang it around the outside? No, he can't. We'll just about squeeze him out. We can see up ahead, Magnussen, I think, lost out to a battle with Hülkenberg. But right up ahead, you can see on the mini-map, the 2 Audis already immediately getting away. But going back to us, we're getting great slipstream on Magnussen. Here we go, down the inside. Very, very close as Magnussen squeezes us into the wall there on the inside right. And he might try and outbrake us here as Hülkenberg gets squeezed out by Hamilton, who's having some issues. But now we're going to try and catch him napping down the inside of the next right-hand first gear momentarily. Trying to go around the outside. Yellow flags behind us, going so side by side with Nico Hulkenberg. Squeezes us into the wall, but we're still there on the right-hand side, but looks like he's going to have the inside line, so we actually have to back off here. I tried to momentarily have a look there down the inside, you saw, but there was just no room to make the move. But we made the move anyway on Magnussen, but I just had an opportunity there to maybe make it 2 overtakes in the span of 2 corners. Wasn't meant to be, and look at that, behind us now. Magnussen under pressure from Vettel, and Magnussen's actually taken a horrible line through there. Gone so wide, now he might be under pressure from Delatraz in the second Renault car, but a really nice move for Vettel there to nip it down the inside of that hairpin. But we're still chasing after Nico Hulkenberg. You can see is struggling to keep up with Hamilton, so if we can try and get past Hulkenberg straight away as we move on to lap 2, it means we'll get in some clean air to try and catch that top pack. And here we go, trying to brake as late as we can into turn 1, while still keeping a tight line though, because Hulkenberg's still there on my right hand side. He's done great to actually keep it round, and on the exit of this corner, a little bit of oversteer there, you can see as my rear end twitches away, and Hulkenberg's still ahead of us by this point. But into the next corner, long right hander, third gear, just roll the car through around the outside. And now Vettel and Hulkenberg can have a battle, and I can bump this car up into rich mix and use all this clean air you can see in front of me to try and catch up to this top pack. And remember, this entire top pack is on ultra soft, so the fact we're actually got this much pace on the soft tires, 2 compounds harder, is a great thing. So now we move on to lap 4, so it's taken us about 2.5 laps there to catch up to Hamilton, but we've finally done so. You can see as we swoop through the new section in Singapore into the hairpin then, and we're going to try and maybe make a move. And you can see the rear end real lively at the moment. It's like the car's dancing around here at Singapore as it gets towards night time. We're going to try and make a move around the outside. Hamilton nearly squeezed us into the wall, but now he gives us the room. We make an excellent move around the outside to keep our nose in it. And now can we try and keep it round? No, Hamilton brakes quite late. I brake early to try and get a switchback line. Doesn't work out here. So Hamilton does some great defending, actually, to be fair to him, because again, look at this. I tried to make a move, try to have a bit of a look, maybe put Hamilton off. He's kind of having none of it. Remember, he's a double world champion in the MyDriver universe, so he's unfazed by this, and he's going to keep his calm at the moment. So we're going to have to try and make a move perhaps on the next straight as we come through the final corner. Plant the power down, go up the gears. We'll have DRS. Here we go. Swoop round on the left-hand side, and we're going to swoop very aggressively back to the racing line as we go into turn 1, and we're now finally up into P7. Now we can try and use another slot of clean air, you can see here, ahead of us to try and catch up to what will be the pack that's trailing with Verline. But up ahead of that pack are the 2 Audi cars. Sainz leading the way at the moment from Sergio Perez, and then following the 2 Audi cars, you've got Verstappen, followed by, I think that's Pierre Gasly. So at the moment, surprisingly, Gasly doing a great job at being ahead of his teammate Giovinazzi. You can see there's quite a big gap between Gasly and Giovinazzi, so perhaps Giovinazzi's struggling a little bit this weekend for any rhythm around Singapore. Although it's not exactly the same as Monaco, I still feel like you need some rhythm around Singapore. Although it's quite an awkward circuit in some places, you could say, I still think you need to be able to be in that groove to kind of hook up all the corners. But yeah, following Giovinazzi as well, and then as I mentioned, there's us with all this clean air trying to catch up to this pack now of the top 6. But you can see I'm in no man's land at the moment, so really when everyone pits, I'm going to be in all this free air on the soft tyres, the hardest compound available this weekend. So I really think actually being in P11, it's been a blessing in disguise, because it opens up the strategy so much to me now that I can just focus on my race. It's not something I've been able to do so many times this season, where I can just focus on my lap times, focus on my corners, and just try and get the pace out of the car rather than fighting people, which obviously inevitably is going to slow you down. And by lap 8, you can see we're up into P2 now as people make their pit stops. Behind us here on lap 8, going through the final corner, is Mick Schumacher, and we're on here just to look at this fight, because you've got such a big train of cars, and Schumacher goes for a move down the inside of our teammate Vandoorne. You can see also behind them is one of the Audi cars coming out of the pits. I think that may be Perez or perhaps even Carlos Sainz. We'll have to look at their helmets later on, but you can see Schumacher and Vandoorne still going toe-to-toe. Vandoorne trying his best. He's on the soft tyres as well, so my teammate trying to do his best to also keep up with his strategy of being on the hardest compound, where Schumacher is on super soft tyres. They go side by side. You can see behind them, oh my god, the 2 Audis have made contact. You can see one of the Audis had a bit of a sideways moment through that straight. That was fantastic to see. That was so dramatic. One of them was literally almost like making a T shape there with the other Audi car. But look at this train of about, I would say, 8 cars, all so close together within like 3 seconds of each other. It's absolutely fantastic to witness. And here goes Perez down the inside of the Haas car. So it's Sainz still ahead of Perez. So Perez tried to maybe perhaps get an overcut there. Didn't work out for them. But let's look at a replay of what actually happened here. So Perez got a good exit on Sainz. gets the slipstream, and then he tries to go to move, but look at this. Oh my god. So close for Sainz there. So what happened actually was Sainz, as he makes another move on the Haas car, he initially tried to overtake this Haas car here, but then he got trapped with Perez, and look at that. Oh my god, he would have absolutely lost his mind there. That would have been a kind of a moment to brace your pants, as they would say probably for Sainz, as he nearly went completely sideways in a very high-speed part of the circuit with his teammate. And as we move on to lap 10, Antonio Giovinazzi out of this race there, according to the race director. That is such a shame for him. So that is, I think, 4 times in this season, 4 out of 7 races where Giovinazzi has had some sort of crash or racing incident or an engine failure. This time, oh, looks like a big racing incident. So no engine failure, it was just a racing incident. So let's take a look at the replay. It actually all starts here through the final corner with this same train that we saw previously, led by Schumacher, then Vandoorne, then Sainz and Perez. Sainz goes for a move on Vandoorne and Schumacher on one straight there. The power of the Audi engine giving Sainz the confidence to try and make 2 moves on one straight. And he goes down the inside of Schumacher, leaves him for dead, but then Perez gets caught up on Schumacher's rear end, which has a domino effect on Vandoorne. Then the Williams of Bottas, I think, comes out of nowhere to try and make a move on Perez. Gets caught up on his rear end. So much going on. I'm getting so confused myself. So now we've got Gasly, I think that is, getting caught up in this. Then you got Verstappen, the Haas car, making a move on the Mercedes car. And there you go. There is the contact. And it's a big contact impact for Giovinazzi. And then behind them, Vettel strangely comes through and smashes into Giovinazzi. Vettel blindsided by that, loses his front wing, but that was such a weird crash for all involved. So now we come back to the live action on lap 11 here. We've got Sergio Perez closing up finally on Mick Schumacher. Couldn't make the move previously, but here he goes down the inside of the German, but he's having a fight here. There's been some contact made. Both drivers on super soft tyres, having it out, banging tyres, and Schumacher goes for the move to try and re-overtake Perez down the inside. So Schumacher in the Force India, we've seen how well he's raced before this season. Really out to prove himself this season in the what is the junior Mercedes team effectively now, with Mercedes supplying Force India and themselves only. So Schumacher trying his best there to keep ahead of Perez, but eventually no use for him. So now we move back to our POV on the same lap, but obviously further ahead in P1 on lap 11. But now it's finally time to come in for our pit stop, so it's not really a legit P1 because we're out of sync with everyone really, even including the guys who are on super softs, because Schumacher is going to go a little bit differently to us because we've gone longer on that first stint. So here we come into the pits now. We're going to strap on a set of super soft tyres now. So I think the plan for us would probably be going for this stint, trying to extend it as much as we can, and then probably going for another super soft stint, I would think. We'll have to see. I can't quite remember how many tyres we have of each set of compound. I think we only have 1 set of soft tyres to work with and 2 sets of super soft. So we're going to have to see how this pans out. But we come out in P10 in a lot of clean air, so we can use this to our advantage once again. So by the next lap, lap 13, 12 to 13, we've caught up already to 9th place man, Seta Camara in the Williams car, who's struggling to try and keep up with, I think that's Verline ahead of him in the Mercedes. So can we try and make a move on the young Brazilian into this next section, really closing up through that right-hander on these very fresh super soft tyres compared to his worn super softs, and we make the move. We can sense the unconfidence, that's not really a word, but the lack of confidence rather on the Brazilian, and so we dive down the inside. That was a pretty damn easy move actually, to be fair. And so now we look ahead of us, we can see the 2 Mercedes now getting caught up with their younger German counterpart Mick Schumacher there. So Verstappen will probably make a move down the inside. Maybe Schumacher will get a radio call to let the 2 Mercedes through, but to be fair, he actually puts up a fight in defence from Verline at least, so maybe not. Maybe Schumacher's having none of the team orders or constructors' orders, I guess you could say. And then you can see here, we're trying to close up as much as we can, and we have done so. By the looks of it, I think we're well within 1 second of Verline, so we should have a pop of DRS to maybe try and close up, as he's going to go for a move on Schumacher, maybe down the inside of the right-hander. There's been contact, huge amount of contact, and there's been a huge crash for Verline, spinning around multiple times. Schumacher's out this race, and that was a huge crash right in front of our eyes. We could have easily got caught up in that, so we're very lucky not to have done. But here's the replay now, on board with Verline, there you go. Very similar to what we've seen twice already in this same section of the circuit, a very dangerous part of the circuit it's proving to be. But here's Schumacher absolutely annihilated into the wall there. Tyre coming off. Verline spinning out on the left of him, and you can see just how close that was. Look at that freeze frame there of how close Verline was to taking us out in that as well. And also Schumacher easily could have come across the track, so we're actually very lucky. Need to count my lucky stars that we didn't actually get caught up in that, because I had my right foot right down on the throttle pedal. I was not ready to lift off there. And so I was very lucky an opening came up on the left to kind of just avoid both of them. So, yeah, wow, what an impact. That was actually crazy that just happened right in front of my eyes. So we're now up into P7 now. 19 runners only in this Grand Prix. So Singapore has taken its toll so far on the runners of MyDriver on this grid in 2019. As we move on to lap 15 now, we're up into P6 as Ricciardo makes a pit stop onto the soft tyres finally. So we've got Verstappen ahead of us on worn super soft tyres, and I then believe my teammate Vandoorne as we move later onto the Grand Prix. 2 laps later indeed, and yes, it was Vandoorne. He's been overtaken already by Verstappen now as we close up and into the hairpin. I make a very, very late call to make a move down the inside. Caught him napping there at the last second in the brake zone. Went for it, went for the pop, and now we go side by side on the exit as Vandoorne's done well to keep it through on the right-hand side. He'll stick it down the inside. I brake early, do the switchback line, try to get it. We lose the back end a little bit, so I don't get the move completely done. But what a wonderful battle this is. Once again with Vandoorne down the inside we go. He gives us the room. No contact's been made. A beautiful battle with Vandoorne. We just about keep it out the barriers on the right, and we have finally overtaken Vandoorne. And that is another end to a really fun battle yet again with my teammate. I really do count myself lucky having Vandoorne as a teammate, because I've mentioned it before in Hungary, if you do remember in that episode, that me and Vandoorne, we can have these battles. We've had these battles before, even as championship rivals in Season 2 it was, if you remember. But we've never made contact. I've made contact with other rivals, I'll admit, you know, Vettel, Hamilton, Verline, but Vandoorne and me, we've always had this respect for one another. We've never made contact while we've been battling, and it's really great to have him as a teammate, really, because you can just have that really great hard graft battle with him. But anyways, I was talking about that. You can see the kind of lineup of these top 6, top 5 here. You still got the 2 Audis there, then followed by the Red Bull guys, and then you've got Hamilton there in a bit of no man's land, and then you got Mercedes, and then myself and Vandoorne here. Vandoorne a little bit out of sync because he went quite long on those soft tyres, and then the super softs as well, so he's quite out of sync here. But as we move on to the next lap, Sainz makes the move round the outside of me, so he's already made his other pit stop, and he's come and overtaken me already, just showing the really strong pace of Audi here this weekend. So we're down to P2. We were momentarily leading this Grand Prix once again. So with 11 laps to go, Sainz looks like he's got this win in the bag perhaps, unless Perez can really close up on him in the closing stages. But as we move later on into the Grand Prix, you can see a bit of a problem here at the moment, perhaps. Our engine's smoking a little bit. I don't know if you can see that quite clearly on your video, or on the uploaded YouTube video, but our engine is indeed smoking a little bit, and Ricciardo is actually closing up quite rapidly on us. And as we make a pit stop now, with 11 laps to go, we're going to go on to another set of super soft tyres. So as I mentioned, it was going to be soft and then 2 super softs, completely ignoring the ultra softs here this weekend. Into the pits, you can see even more clearly now, the smoke is gathering. So this has me a little bit nervous, really, because the last time my engine looked like this was back in Hungary last season in the Red Bull car, if you remember. And that did not end quite well. That ended with me retiring that race with an engine failure. So far, my engine's not into retirement yet, but my team is reporting on reduced power from the power unit. So at the moment, this Land Rover branded Renault engine is not serving me quite well in the heat of Singapore. But hey-ho, we'll continue on. And so we've just come out right behind the Williams car of Seta Camara, the Brazilian, and onto the same lap, Sector 2, going into the new section of Singapore in second gear, finding the grip round the outside of this new complex, and we've hanged it round the outside. And we've got that place up into P10, and that was a really lovely move, actually, around the outside. Just found that traction and that kind of zone of second gear to pull the car through on the circuit. And so we're up into 10th, chasing down what will now be P9, Pascal Verline. We've got DRS closing up into turn 1, so we'll line up this move to try and set it up on basically the next straight, the main DRS straight, really. And we're closed up quite a bit, actually, already. So Verline on the soft tyre, so he may be struggling quite a bit, so we take a really wide entry line, going aggressively over that curbing on the left. And now we swung it back, DRS wide open, but Verline getting away from us, actually, a little bit. And it looks like my engine's not getting any better, because we move on to a kind of off-board picture shot of this. and you can see my engine appears to be smoking more than it did previously, but either way, we make a move down the inside of Verline. We caught him napping down the inside there, but he'll come back at us, so we go side by side in this section. Tricky right-hander, and oh so close to the wall there. He nearly squeezed us right into the barrier, but we've got it, and we're up into P8, and now Magnus and Verline will go side by side. Brilliant battle between them. They're still going side by side into the new section, and Magnussen just about hangs it around, just like I tried to do on the Williams car, but Verline's having none of it, and they still go side by side. But finally, will Magnussen do this? Yes, he will. Down the inside of the hairpin, and he's got that move done, and now he can try and chase after the absolute barbecue that is my car here at the moment. I do not know what is going on. I'm going to have to give Renault a stern word here and publicly shame them off this race, because this is very worrying. We're on lap 31 now. I'm still in P7 to be fair, but my fuel is a little bit marginal and my engine is not sounding or looking very good. I look behind me and I can't see Magnussen. All I see is this smoke. That's not very good for me trying to defend from the man if I can't even see where he is. Magnussen can use this to advantage. He can be an absolute Danish ninja at this point to try and attack me, because I don't know where he's going to come from, because I can just see you know, as I mentioned, a barbecue behind me. And also you can imagine every single straight now I'm losing time to Magnussen because of the deficit of power from this engine smoking away. And so Magnussen here onto the next straight is going to go for a move, makes a dive bomb down the inside over the curbing quite aggressively. We just about hang it round the outside and just defend from him into that next right-hander. And you can see on the overhead shot, we're just keeping ahead of him, and we're absolutely drowning him in this smoke. He'll come out of this race, he'll exit his car, and he'll probably be able to dust off his helmet with the amount of dust probably getting collected on his visor. But he makes a move there. You can see the amount of speed he's got compared to us now, but we're still trying our best. Very, very stubborn here to try and keep this position. P7, we're still going side by side with the Dane, and we're going to still go round the outside. I don't know how we're doing it, but we're just about keeping ahead. Bit of a tank slapper, opposite lock. Sergio Perez, surprisingly, has come through to win this Grand Prix after I thought Carlos Sainz would have this win in the bag. But no, it's Sergio Perez to win this Grand Prix at Singapore, and we're just about keeping ahead of Magnussen. You can see we made a couple of dive bombs there to do it, but then on the last corner, just before the last corner, just listen, we've run out of fuel, and Magnussen is going to come around the last bend, and he's actually going to overtake us of the last corner, and we're actually going to only come in P8. We've run out of fuel on the line. It was marginal, and I think I was just a bit too greedy on the rich mix and standard mix just at the end there. And unfortunately, we've come home in what will be quite a miserable P8, really. And that's just not good enough. That's just not good enough for Renault. And you can see why. I mean, you can see why Jaguar have chosen the same route as Red Bull to not want to be associated with Renault, because it's just not on. And I'm actually quite glad that next year we'll be getting our bespoke Jaguar engine, because this is just ridiculous. In the heat of Singapore, our engine's overheated, and that was, especially on the last lap there, maybe not, you might not have been able to tell, but that power deficit was quite large, especially right at the end in the last sector, and then we ran out of fuel to make matters worse. So yeah, wow, what a crazy Grand Prix though. So many crashes, impacts with other AI cars, and then our own issues. But yeah, Sergio Perez has come out, surprisingly, as I mentioned, to win it. I don't know how he's done that, because he must have had an overcut then, because he didn't actually make an overtake on track on Sainz. I think that just might have been an overcut strategy for Perez to get first place. So after those race results, you can pause the video if you want to check it out in more detail. But as we move on to the Drivers' Championship, the resulting table now looks like this. Lewis Hamilton still leads the way, actually, because he did a decent enough job to get enough points this race to still be in first with 84 points to now Sainz's 73. We are in third place, 3 points behind him with 70 points on the dot. Perez now moves up to 69 points there, so a big chunk of points that he kind of needed to re-kickstart his season, because he's had a long string of bad luck, really, Perez, compared to Sainz. So now that's a much-needed win for him. Verstappen in P5, Vandoorne moves down to 6th place, Verline 7th, Magnussen 8th, Gasly in P9, Vettel P10, and a really poor race for Vettel there in P10. Obviously, he had the unlucky contact with Giovinazzi, but still. And then, obviously, Giovinazzi with no points, which actually moves him down behind Gasly. And then Ricciardo finishes out the top 12 there. So, bit of a change behind Lewis Hamilton, but still, Hamilton Hamilton will be very, very happy with that he still keeps ahead. So a bit of consistency there, really, for Hamilton. That keeps him ahead there. In the Constructors, Audi lead the way, 142 points to R135 in Jaguar there. McLaren just about ahead of Mercedes there by 1 point, 123 to 122. And then a bit of a gap, and then you've got Red Bull and Ferrari in that scrap for that 5th and 6th place with 68 to 61 points. And then you've got Williams, Force India, Renault, Haas, and then Alfa Romeo. So that's how everything ended off the Singapore Grand Prix. A very thrilling Grand Prix. A lot of action, crashes, an engine failure, sort of, nearly towards the end, perhaps. That could have actually been a lot worse for us. We could have scored no points, but still, you know, P8, it's a bit of a frustrating Grand Prix for me, but I'm sure we can try and bounce back next race. Hopefully, here's knock on wood at the Chinese Grand Prix. But if you did enjoy that race, smash that like button, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If we can try and aim for, again, over 2,000 likes, that'd be absolutely awesome. I don't know why I need to ask, because really, you guys have just been smashing this one out of the ballpark. It's been unbelievable. I can't thank you guys enough. We're coming up to halfway through the series, and we're still smashing the support like it's episode 1. So thank you very much for that. If you're new around here, then get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time.